And the next question, though, the logical question is, hey, now what? Like, if that domino falls, now what about all the other dominoes? And we said for a long time, that was the big domino. That was the big one. We needed that one to fall, and we'd come back, and I'd stand up, and I'd say, hey, we're waiting on one signature. It could be any day. And then I came back and said, hey, we're waiting on one signature. It could be any week. And then I came back and said, hey, we're waiting on one signature. It could be any decade. I mean, it just felt like the thing just got away, right? And we waited and waited, we're patient, we're finally at that time, we got that, but now we wonder, hey, what's next? And now what do? What are the next sequence of events? And so I'm just going to allow you to catch an update from a few different people. I'll kind of introduce them in turn, but the first, all the way down here, is Tom Bestrom, and Tom's going to give us a little update on something we launched a year ago, which was simply called Unleashed. And we said what we really want to do over the course of the next few years is we want to grow in generosity. We just want our hearts to grow and be stretched in generosity in how we view it, how we receive it, and how we express it. And we want to kind of build up funds to go get a building. And but we knew if we didn't have our hearts grow, the building wouldn't really matter at the end of the day. And so we're a year into that. It's just a really good time for an update. And it happens to be we're also now very pragmatically talking about a building. So I'm first going to just let you hear from Tom Bestrom, and he'll give us a little update on where we are about 1 year into Unleashed.
Thanks, John. As you guys recall, as John said, we kicked off Unleashed almost a year ago. October 7th is when we started this, which was pretty exciting. And so we're into our 1 year. And if you remember, what we did is we kind of sat down and said, okay, what do we think? How would God stretch our hearts? And so we established a goal. It's a 3-year goal, and I think it's up. It should be up on the screen by now. Yep, it is. 1.35 million. Which is, you think, wow, that's a lot of money. Well, it is. But the great news is we broke it off into chunks. And so if you look at it, kind of where we're at right now is 450,000 is really our the first year goal. We've achieved 84%, which is an awesome thing to have done already. So I think first we ought to give ourselves a hand. And so here we are. We're 1 year into it. We've got 2 years to go. The exciting news now is we at least have a building, something that's tangible that we can all rally around and go from there. And so say, well, where do we go from here? What are our next steps? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to send out a personal update. Okay, so all of those who turned in an estimate of giving card, we're going to send out an update, and we're just going to say, here's kind of where you're at. Here's what you said what you signed up for 3 years, and kind of here's where we're at for 1 year. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to allow people, because some of you are new. I look around the room, and there's so many new faces that are here, and they weren't here when we started Unleash. We want you to experience and participate right along with us. So we're going to allow people. I'll be out in the lobby area when we're done here, standing at one of the areas there. If you want to know more about the Unleashed initiative, I'll be glad to share some of the things about that. There's a packet of information. You can go from there. They always say in the first service is kind of like a trial run. And so this is the second one. And in the first service, I said, and also for those that already turned in an estimate and giving card, if you want to give more, feel free to do that. And it was interesting, as I looked across, it was kind of like this cringe moment, okay? What I'm going to challenge you is when you hear John's message, what I said about you can give more will be nothing compared to what John's going to challenge you with, okay? Which is a great thing. So that's kind of where we're at. And again, I'll be out there after this, and just come up and, I had a couple of people stop up. We have a packet of information that we used when we launched Unleashed. I'll hand that off to you, and I can answer any questions.
It's good stuff. Now that Tom has you freaked out, don't go anywhere. No, like, I think I have to go to the bathroom, and don't come back, right? Now you got to hang it up. One of the things that you have to do to be a leader at Journey is you have to have a name named Tom. Okay, that was Tom Bestrom, now we have Tom Kazimeir. Okay, it's like somehow we created some Tom code or something. Tom Kazimeir is the leader of actually our building team, and Tom gets all things facilities and code and building related, and he's kind of leading our process in that. And we do now kind of have this building that's really, we've called it the Cherry Valley Building forever. We probably need to start changing our thinking in that. It's right off M37. It's at what would be 92nd Street. That's in pretty good shape and still kind of feels like, hey, that's really usable, but there are some things we need to get done, and we need to jump through some hoops with local government and things like that. And Tom is kind of our guy who gets that best and is helping us point the direction there. So he's going to give us a little update on what happens with jumping through some code pieces and actually building pieces here in the next 60 days or so.
Yeah. Thanks, John. As he indicated, there's a couple of things I'm going to go over. We'll go over kind of where we're at with the planning with this village of Caledonia and the steps we've taken there, as well as then the construction piece, some of the design piece. And then really one of the most important pieces is answer the question of when. When do we think we're going to get in? And let's face it, that's what we're working towards to have this tool. So we'll work through those steps here and let you know that. What's happened since John announced 2 weeks ago that we have the signed agreement, we have taken steps to officially, we've signed that as well, but we've also put down payment down. That's being held in escrow with a realtor. So that step is taken. So this is very real. You know, we're moving forward, and I think it's time we all in the building team are excited because now we can grasp it. It's tangible, and we can move, and we can start taking some action. Some of the other steps that we've taken, Ryan and I have worked on our application with the village for a rezoning and zoning review and special use, which is what we'll need to have as a worship facility in that space that's currently zoned for retail. We anticipated it won't be a problem. We've gone through some first steps, and the consultant that the village uses did a kind of first read on our application, our plans, and it was all very positive feedback. A few little clarifications they're looking for, but for the most part, this week, Thursday, they're going to sit down and review this. The board may have some questions that we have to come back with and clarify in another month. On the 24th of October, there'll be another meeting. But at least from an initial standpoint, all very positive feedback, so we're excited about that. It looks like those hurdles will be moved out of the way by God, so we're great with that. Next steps from there, this week we're going to be putting out a request for a proposal to 3 contractors. BDD Construction, which worked with us what seems like 2 years now ago on the cobblestone and the feasibility studies for this Cherry Valley facility to say, hey, what are the potential, what are the costs? So we had some idea going into it. So they worked with us. We've got Dyke House Construction that we're also going to engage with. They have worked with the design studio, Elevate Studios. They've worked with them exclusively and a lot on these type of projects where we have volunteer labor and churches that are trying to get started, and they've got a good working relationship there. And then we also have First Real Estate, who's really been invested in this from the beginning as they've looked at land and now buildings and so forth with us. So we'll be going out to those 3. By mid-October, we will have a contractor selected, and then we'll be design. The process at that point will be to get the design, work through with them, do value engineering with them. They can provide guidance as far as what will cost more, what will save us money, so that we can really narrow down the design and layouts for the immediate and intermediate steps of the construction process to get us in the building. Develop the plans then that we can submit to the township for permitting and building permits. So those steps will take place in the next, like I said, the next few weeks, and then after that we'll get the design piece, which will take us 4 to 5 weeks, which will bring us right about to where the close is at with the bank, the selling bank, of what they set for a close, which was November 20th. So that kind of gives you some time frame of where we are. For those doing the math, we're looking at a construction project of 4 to 6 months. So somewhere from April 1st to the end of May is that window where we're targeting right now. And we'll know a little bit more once we have a contractor on board and we can work through a design and then work through the project schedule. And we'll know kind of where those volunteer times are needed. They're going to be needed throughout the whole thing, let's face it. There's always cleanup, there's always something, there's encouragement, there's going to be opportunities for everybody. But from a few months ago when we kind of reached out to the congregation and said, hey, what skills do we have here? We got a lot of wonderful feedback. There's a lot of talent, there's a lot of skills, and there's a lot of willingness to help. And we're going to count on that because we know we have some challenges to meet the budget. We don't have a set budget by any means, but we know we are going to need more than what we have because it's a large building and there's a lot to do. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ryan.
So we've been in touch with 2 different financial institutions, and both of them have expressed their willingness to lend us 100% of the purchase price, which is great. It's $560,000, and the payment on that, just how it breaks down, is roughly equal to what we pay for rent. So that is a very doable number that the leadership is comfortable with. But then the repairing, tearing down, fixing up, all of that then needs to be basically cash. That's what we need to come up with on our own. And so where we're at today, we have been able to save and put into a savings account $200,000, of which $150,000 is undesignated. As Tom mentioned, the request for proposal is going out, and until it comes back, we won't know the exact amount, but we're expecting to need about $250,000 to $300,000. So there is a gap between what we have, what we expect we'll need, and from the time of construction is completed.
Yeah, good stuff. One of the fascinating things that Ryan just said is kind of have this $200,000 sitting in a bank, and 50 of that kind of designated for some things that we're invested in, like missions and hand-to-hand things like that. But do you know how that happens? Like, do you understand how that money gets there? I mean, that only happens literally because you're just freakishly generous people. It doesn't just grow. It doesn't just like, oh, boom, there it is one day. It's because people like you have just been faithfully generous, and for 6 years, it's allowed that to kind of build up for a time like this. And you've engaged deeply, and so thanks for that. And that's just worth it. It matters, and eventually there's just huge purpose to that, and we're in that season right now. Will you help me say thanks to these guys for just some updates?